An entitled Karen tries to steal my seat on a plane as she straight up lied to my face, claiming that the flight attendant gave her permission to sit in my seat. But after having the longest day of my life and being so utterly exhausted, I decided to put my foot down and put this entitled Karen in her place in a way that she will never forget. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, I really need to say that people stealing plane seats and getting told off for it are some of my favorite stories on the internet. With the increase of plane seat bandits, most likely due to airlines almost making it a requirement to pay for seats if you want to sit next to your plane partner, I have been half expecting to run into one since me and my husband travel a lot for work. And much to my surprise, it finally happened and it was a lot of fun. Now, me and my husband always buy plane seats towards the back of the plane. As we stroll down, we see a lady and a young son, maybe 11 or 12 years old, literally sitting in our seats. And they were both deep into their phones when I told her that she was in our seats. Now, for reference, we had to wake up at about 3 o'clock in the morning to drive to the airport, and we didn't really sleep, so I was definitely not in the mood for anybody's BS. This lady looks up at me and she smiles and tells us that they weren't seated together, so the stewardess told her that they could sit here. But I just think to myself and I'm like, yeah, okay, she most definitely didn't say that. I smiled back and I say that we paid for these seats, so we would like to sit there. She keeps smiling her stiff smile and points to the other empty seats behind us and asked us if we wouldn't mind sitting in one of them since they were already settled and comfortable. I mean, would it even matter? Well, as I said, yes, it would matter, especially since the plane is still boarding. So these might all just be reserved and it would really mess with the system if people sit in random seats. At this point, she is starting to lose her smile and she then says to me, well, if there aren't seats available after the plane is finished boarding, then we would happily be able to move for you at that point. Now, I am not a confrontational person and I am usually a people pleaser, so I'm struggling to stand up for myself, but I am so proud for doing it anyways. Meanwhile, my husband is struggling between boarding passengers to get the flight attendant. I let out a sigh with a half smile and I say, I'm sorry, but I just want to sit down. And I'm not going to stand in the hallway blocking people just to see if there's maybe an empty seat when we paid for these seats. And besides, I would like the police to be able to identify our bodies by seat number in case the plane crashes and our families want to bury our remains. When I said that, the kid's face, which was glued to the phone the entire time, looks up between me and his mom in a state of complete shock, and it was completely delicious. At this point, she has a bewildered look on her face, and she was sitting there for maybe 5 seconds in silence, right before she packs up her stuff and pokes her son to move. I just keep smiling sweetly, and I thank her as I plop myself down right as my husband returns with a flight attendant. I tell her that everything is fine, and I tell my husband exactly what happened. We then laughed pretty loudly, and I'm pretty sure the mom heard it, or at least I hope she did. I didn't look back, but I think I'm not mistaken when I felt laser staring into the back of my head. Luckily, the flight was only 3 hours, so I didn't need to walk past her to go to the bathroom. But I'm honestly so glad I got to experience this, because people who act like this truly are unbelievably frustrating. Wow, if I had to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning just to catch this flight, only to then find somebody sitting in my seats that I paid for, I really think I would have been a lot ruder than the original poster. But they really did handle this like a pro. Like, they really did not let anything get under their skin, and they did not believe a single thing that this stupid lady was trying to spout off to her. Like, did she really think her excuses were gonna work? Like, of course the flight attendant didn't tell you to go sit in these random seats. That is just such a complete load of garbage, and there's no good excuse for her trying to act that way. So truly, good for you for standing up for yourself, because this lady clearly was trying to work the system and try to get one over on you. And it's so good that you didn't allow that for a single minute. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. An entitled mother scolds me after I supposedly pushed her daughter away at an amusement park, claiming that I'm a liar and a bully and that I need to apologize despite the fact that I didn't even do anything to her daughter. But once my father found out how I got treated, things took a turn in a way that I honestly never expected. Here's what happened. So this story happened to me when I was about 10 years old. My family and I were at an amusement park, which we always visit for a day every year. We had a lot of fun with all the different attractions, and the park also had different smaller attractions for children that use park coins. I was always a very patient person and always avoided conflicts because I am also very sensitive. As a child, politeness and respect were always the most important thing to me, whether I was a child or an adult, and I always got along better with older people as opposed to children my own age. In any case, there was a pirate attraction with 2 ships where several children could shoot cannons loaded with foam balls at each other. other. It was in a closed room, and the parents could watch from outside through a grate. These cannons, however, required special coins to work. Now, I had always been a pirate fan, so I was very keen to try it out. We were never a rich family, and so I was taught how important it is to save your money. These coins only cost $1 or so, but I didn't want to waste my money, so I only got 3 coins and I went to this attraction. I put a coin in the cannon and I started playing with other children. It was me alone against 4 other children. They bombarded me with the other cannons and I defended myself as best as I could, which wasn't really a problem. But one of the other kids was a girl who was about 8 years old who thought it was fun to manipulate me and push me and the cannon away so that I couldn't aim and couldn't really play. I asked her several times not to push me, but the girl just didn't listen to me. Since she knew that the cannon had a timer, I felt completely trapped. For starters, I was alone against 4 other children. Secondly, the timer was almost at the end and it was also my second coin. And thirdly, the girl continued to push and pull me even after I told her to stop it. Now, I didn't want to use any more of my coins and I wanted to take advantage of the time that I had. So I grabbed the girl by the arm and I looked her straight in the face and I told her to stop. Well, when I did that, she finally burst into tears and ran out of the room. I was able to eventually use the time again and play again, but after a few minutes, a woman shouted at me. At first, I didn't notice her because I was too deep into my defense, but when I realized that she was shouting at me, I politely asked what the problem was. This woman looked at me and said, "You hit and insulted my daughter." Now, I was taken aback and said calmly that I didn't hit her, and I tried to explain my point of view to her. Well, she didn't let me get a word in edgewise and shouted at me while the girl on her leg grinned maliciously. She said that I should leave her daughter alone and let her do what she wanted. So I guess she apparently thought I was a violent child. During the discussion, a sound was heard which signaled that the timer of the cannon had run out. Emotionally charged and feeling attacked from all sides, I left the room disappointed in how people just cannot respect each other. I then found my family and I told them what had happened to me because I was already crying because I was being insulted for something I didn't even do. Afterwards, I went to another attraction with my sister just so I could distract myself for a moment. My father, who's a person with very little patience, saw this mother and decided to confront her. Now, I didn't notice this happened, but when I came back, I saw my father and the daughter's mother having a heated argument. My mother didn't want to attract attention and asked my father to please be quieter. This entitled mother saw me as a liar and a bully and completely insulted me. A little later, the father came and we explained the situation. He was a very reasonable gentleman and apparently knew immediately who the liar was and scolded his wife and his daughter. And after he apologized, he took his wife and his daughter to the exit of the amusement park. My mother was pretty embarrassed about this incident because we got so much attention and she was angry with my father for reacting like that. And I even apologized for the situation getting out of hand. We tried to enjoy the day and I tried to lighten the mood, but it was all in vain. Everyone in the family was angry for the day and we left the park just to go home. And I thought it was a shame that we lost our good mood and our wonderful fun just because of an argument. But the next year we went back and we had a great time. I tried not to mention this story again until a few years later, but through it all, I will never forget this experience for the rest of my life. Okay, first and foremost, your dad is amazing. The fact that he stood up for you and confronted this lady, in my opinion, is exactly what should have happened. Nobody can just yell at somebody else's kid like that. That is not okay. You're not going to sit there and scream at somebody else's kid and think you can get away with it, especially if your kid is blatantly lying and trying to get the other person in trouble. Like anybody with 2 eyes and a brain can see that that stupid kid was messing with the original poster. They were pushing them around and they were just completely ruining the experience. So while this is clearly not your fault, I think it's still great that your dad stepped up and took care of business, because the way this entitled mother screamed at you, in my opinion, is completely uncalled for. This next story came from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. Check the links in the description if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for yelling at the neighbor's kid who broke into our house to try and steal my brother's PC? Here's what happened. I'm an 18-year-old male who lives with my mother, my father, and my younger brother. Last week was my brother's birthday, and this party only had his friends because we like to keep family birthdays and friend birthdays completely separate. Now, my brother has been praying to get a gaming PC because I let him use mine when I'm not home or when I'm not using it, but he wants his own so he can play with me and his friends. On the day of his birthday, we invited all of his friends, but unfortunately, one of his friends' moms must have forced my mom to invite the kid's younger brother, and for the sake of the story, let's call my brother's friend Miles and the younger one Steve. Miles was a relatively chill dude and often came over to hang out with my brother to play on our trampoline or go bike riding with other kids in the neighborhood. The party was all okay at the beginning, and the kids started playing games in the backyard and took turns going on the trampoline, but everything everything went downhill when my brother opened up his presents. All the kids got him either a board game, a Lego set, or some kind of action figure. Most of the presents were unwrapped until my brother grabbed a giant one. He unwrapped it and was in complete shock to see the words gaming computer printed on the box. He then set the box on the table and ran to hug my parents. But trust me, we wouldn't be here if there was the happy ending that we were all kind of hoping for. Steve, who is the younger brother, absolutely bursted into tears, yelling out, "That's not fair!" And he's kicking and screaming the entire time. He even tried to grab the computer and run out with it, but I stopped him and grabbed it just in time. Eventually, his mother had to pick him up and bring him back to their house. Now, after that incident, everyone just moved on with the party, and when the party eventually ended, I helped my brother build his PC since it was the same one that I used to have. Once we finished, he was ecstatic to play, and I even let him take some of the games I finished so that he could play them. A few days after that, my brother, my cousin, and I were hanging out in an inflatable pool. We eventually got bored and started throwing water balloons around, which turned into a water balloon war as we ran around the house. But while we were playing, Steve must have walked into our garage and sneaked up to my brother's bedroom. After we threw the water balloons around, I decided to go and get changed back into normal clothing. But when I passed my brother's room, guess what I saw? I saw Steve unplugging the PC, and he was right there trying to lift it up. I walked into the room and obviously yelled at him to stop, but in his shock, he dropped my brother's PC, hitting his foot in the process. He started crying and bawling and then sprinted downstairs, and I chased after him, but he was already gone. Now, I was the one to tell my brother that his brand new PC was broken, and when I did, he had the obvious reaction of shock and sadness. I'm now trying to save up to buy him a new PC, and I'm trying to do this by doing neighborhood jobs like mowing lawns and washing cars. Fast forward, and I now have about $170 saved up, but now that this has all happened, I have honestly just one question. Am I the jerk for yelling at this kid? What should I do? No, you're definitely not the jerk, but if anything, you probably should have yelled at him a little bit more. This idiot literally snuck into your house to try and steal the PC. Like he was unplugging it and got caught in the act. If I caught someone doing that, I would have lost my mind on them. And I do not care if they're a kid or an adult. You cannot just sneak into someone's house and try to steal their property. Now, I totally understand that you want to save up to buy him a new PC, but in my opinion, I think you need to call this kid's mom and be like, "Hey, your son broke my brother's PC. You need to pay for it." Because in my opinion, the parents of that kid are absolutely on the hook. This kid broke into your house, he tried to take the PC, and then he broke it on his way out the door as you yelled at him. Like, sure, you could probably pay for it by doing some more jobs, but those parents are absolutely the ones on the hook. So hopefully this can get worked out in some kind of way, because the fact that your brother no longer has a PC, all because of some stupid spoiled brat, in my opinion, is completely unfair. A group of entitled jerks trespass onto my property, demanding that I allow them to cut through it so that they can go up the mountain. And I'm honestly so frustrated dealing with people like this that I seriously hope they never come back. Here's what happened. Okay, so this happened late this afternoon. My wife and I own 20 acres of land in the Colorado mountains. Our house sits at the top of our land at 10,000 feet, overlooking our property below and the rest of the valley in the area. Our driveway is about a mile long, and the entrance is clearly marked with poles on either side and a house number. And along the driveway, there are about 10 to 12 signs posted that say private property, no trespassing, keep out, etc. Literally anyone coming down our driveway would have to pass these clearly marked signs. This afternoon, my wife and I are in the lower part of our property working on demoing an old cabin that we're taking down, and we hear ATVs coming down our driveway. I immediately jump in the pickup and I race up the mountain, and I come across several men who all appear to be in their 70s or in their 80s, sitting on their ATVs about 20 to 30 feet in front of our house. When I approached them, they kind of seemed shocked that I was even there. I asked them if they knew they were trespassing on our private property, and one of them just stated that they were enjoying the view, completely ignoring the fact that I just said they were trespassing. He then went on to ask if there was a way to continue on our property to get to the next mountain, but I just said no. The whole valley, including where you're trespassing right now, is all private property. They then talked about the land that they've owned in the past in a certain area, which is literally several miles away, and the entire time I tried to remain calm and polite through all of it, but they never did apologize for being on my property. Instead, they just said that they will stop trespassing and get out of here, as if I was the jerk for stopping and inconveniencing them. So seriously, am I the jerk for stopping these entitled jerks for riding their ATVs on my property? Because seriously, I'm very annoyed and I just don't know what else to do. No, it doesn't sound like you did anything wrong. There were literally signs posted all over your property, stay out and go away. The fact that they didn't put two and two together and be like, oh wait, maybe we we shouldn't be here. Maybe we shouldn't be trying to cut through this property that's very clearly marked. Like, that says way more about them than it ever does about you, because you did your job to try and keep people out. And so for them to try and be like, oh, can we cut across your property to the next mountain, in my opinion, is incredibly toxic and very rude. Am I the jerk for refusing to help out a friend who decided not to invite me to their wedding? Here's what happened. Okay, so for about 11 years now, I've been pretty close with a man that we will call John. We met at a job in my mid-20s, and we were pretty regular company up until the pandemic, where us hanging out has taken a decline but isn't extinct. John and his partner, let's call her Jane, have been together for about 8 years now and engaged for a little under 2, with the both of them having a child from previous relationships. Now, they've taken trips with their kids almost every single year, and when they've done this, I've been happy to help visit their home and check on things, and to take care of any of their animals or anything else that they might need while they're gone. I have helped them out with other projects and jobs over the years, and most recently, I picked up Jane from the airport, who was returning from a work trip, and I got her home this past winter during a snowstorm because my vehicle could handle it. So generally speaking, I have been present and helpful on top of our base friendship. About 5 weeks ago, I find out from a mutual friend that their wedding is coming up. Invites had gone out a while ago, and everyone in our circle got invited except for me. Now, as a gay guy, I've experienced being iced out of some of my straight friends' lives and events, in some ways that are minor and in others that are much more pronounced. But this one has definitely been something that has had me thinking about my time and energy with people. So I decided I would take the hint and begin to distance myself. Well, fast forward to about 3 days ago, and John sent me a message asking if I'm around in early to mid-August. I say that I am, and John asked if I wouldn't mind visiting like I have before to look after the animals and the property, but I say to him, I'm sorry, I can't do it. He then gives me a call to try and talk about it. We run through the same conversation, and mind you, it is polite even though it is a bit tense, but I finally say, I'm sorry, I just won't be visiting your home. After a moment of silence, I bring up that I'm disappointed that I appear to be the only person in our group of friends not invited to his wedding, and that I cannot be helping like I have before if I'm just a background friend at this point. I wrap up the call positively and sincerely, with me wishing them a good wedding and a good trip, and that maybe we can grab drinks sometime soon. Well, Jane then reaches out to me 2 days ago, sending me follow-up text messages, saying John is upset about what I said and with her because she made the final calls about friend invites, and that I am taking this the wrong way, as there is only so much capacity, and that the others in our friend group have partners that took up space. She adds that she hopes I'll change my mind and help them out because it would put John's mind at ease. Now, I'm not entitled to the company of others or invitation to anybody's events, but am I wrong for setting my own boundaries in response to theirs? I try not to frame my friendships as transactional, but they obviously want something out of me here, despite their not inviting me and then avoiding even bringing it up with me until they needed help covering their honeymoon. So seriously, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? I don't think you're the jerk at all, because obviously they were definitely using you. Like, these were not friends in the slightest. They only wanted you around so you could check on their property, but didn't even have the common courtesy to allow you to go to their wedding. Like, they very clearly never considered you a friend, and that is honestly so disgusting. So no, you are not the jerk for deciding to turn them down, because it sounds like the both of them turned you down a long time ago. My mom is slowly draining the life out of me, and it's seriously starting to make me feel crazy, because right now I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I need to start off by saying that my mother is driving me insane, and I feel like I'm at the end of my tether and I just don't know where else to go. I took her with me on a trip to see family for Christmas, and it became a nightmare. She's just gotten worse and worse, and everything is always about her. How miserable she is, that her life didn't turn out like she wanted it to, that she's fat, ugly, broke. I mean, her complaints are endless. It doesn't matter what I say. She sees a different reality than I do. She decides that something is fact and tries to bully me into caving just so she can be in the right. She doesn't care that I work nights, and I have to be available 24/7 to care for her emotional needs. Even though I'm 23 years old, I don't know when I stopped being the kid and she stopped being the adult, and maybe I was always the one forced to nurture. Also, nothing I ever do works. Setting boundaries doesn't help, family therapy doesn't help. She always manipulates, torments, and bullies until I lose my temper and I somehow become the bad guy. I will admit I have a temper, and maybe in recent years an anger management problem, but I can't even begin to deal with it because she pushes on every button on purpose. I paid $3,000 for her and her friend to go on a cruise this summer because she couldn't afford her share. I have $30 to my name, and the same day I sent her $1,000 extra and she still started complaining. She wants me to fix everything and I'm just so tired. She has depression and I understand she may feel like garbage, but I don't get why it's okay for her to be like this. I don't know why family has left me to deal with her for years. I'm so emotionally drained. I can't even bear to socialize outside of her because I just don't have anything to give. And right now I'm starting to think I need to go no contact, but I don't know if that's an overreaction. I'm just so tired. I'm looking to move out in August, but I doubt the space will matter. I mean, she's in the Caribbean blowing up my phone as we speak, so no contact seems to be the only answer, and I can't tell if I'm the unreasonable one because right now I seriously don't know what to do. No, you're not being unreasonable for wanting to get away from this lady. She sounds insane and absolutely obnoxious. She's controlling every aspect of your life, and honestly, that is so unfair for you. So I seriously do not blame you for starting this process of moving away from this lady, because her behavior is absolutely unacceptable. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.